right. Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? I'm Lisi, and I'm joined here with Mina Sanchez and Katie and Danny. And we are Ascension Coaches and Ascension Coaches in Training with Twin Flames Universe. So today we're going to be talking about how addiction impacts your union, how if you or your twin flame, you know that you have an addiction or you suspect there's an addiction, or maybe you don't even know anything about it, but you know you have faced this in your life, whether it's a loved one or one of your close friends, family members. Addiction is all around us. And so we want to talk about how that's related to the twin flame journey and provide some healing for you. So please, if you hear us sharing something, if you have a question, please drop a comment under this video in the Facebook forum. And if you're watching the recording on YouTube, please leave a comment in the comment section and we will get back with you with some healing. So please let it rip. Like, go ahead and ask all your juicy questions so that we can respond. So I did want to share about myself a little bit, because in my union has faced addiction. When people think about addiction, they first think about like drugs and alcohol. There's gambling addictions, pornography addictions, food addictions. There's also all types of addictions. And I did want to read something from a quote from Jeff and Shalia's sermon on addiction, which we're going to put a link to in the comments here. And what they share in the sermon is an addiction is where you are dependent on something to give you something else. You can define God as that, but usually it's something outside of you, an activity or substance that you can replace God with. So it's not the thing that you're addicted to that's the problem. It's your relationship with what you're addicted to that's the problem. And so if you look at the definition of addiction, as Jeff and Shalia have provided, it's anything that you're using in place of God. It's like looking at something outside of you as your source. And it's your relationship with that thing, right? So if you look at something like food addiction, we can't stop eating food. We must eat food. But if we have a food addiction, it's that we're replacing something else with food, like joy, happiness, fulfillment with food. And we're having an unhealthy relationship with food, right? So we're going to talk about lots of different aspects of addiction in our own personal lives. I want to give an opportunity for the others to share. And while we're sharing, please again drop a comment with a question, or even just say hi, and we welcome you to this live video. So I wanted to open the floor to any of the other coaches or coaches in training who'd like to share.
Thank you, Lisi. We're so happy to be here to share our stories. I personally have been navigating addiction, healing from addiction myself, and I'm also realizing how juicy it is to kind of like learn a little bit more about like the dynamics, I feel like, around addiction, and how to experience and experiment with looking at our union from this angle and finding upsets and things that you can use that your twin flame is showing you to heal that addiction too. So I'm looking forward to share my story a little bit here. So welcome everyone. And yeah. You want me to go ahead and share? Elisa, I thought you were going to share.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was going to share.
Yes.
But I feel like it's nice to I'll come back and share in a bit. I think it would be good if you wanted to share.
Yeah. So Katie, anything to add as we get started?
So for me, my addiction was not like a substance or any, like it was outside of me, but it was more of like a thought pattern. And I was feeding a thought pattern with getting something outside of myself. And it was stemmed from a very big trauma that like happened actually when I was a newborn. And it just like kept happening in my life. Like the I guess it would be like the reason that I would, so mine was excessive reassurance outside of myself. So that would be, I would call or text my mom and be like, oh, like, is this okay? Or like, am I, like, it was always like, usually had to do with health. And then it moved on to like my partner and like seeking reassurance in that way. And like, if I didn't get that reassurance, I would get very anxious and like sick. And it would turn into panic attacks and just like, you know, that irrational thinking loop. And I was speaking with my MAP practitioner from a previous MAP process I went through. And she said, I think that this is a trauma. And so my addiction stemmed from a trauma that happened when I was a newborn. And like, it was actually that I believed I was not safe. And I was never safe. And like, I would just have this vicious cycle of trying to convince myself that I was safe. So I just thought it would.
So many addictions are like rooted in trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like, it was really interesting to see that I had that, it was trauma. And like, it was considered an addiction because like most people wouldn't think that a thought pattern would be an addiction, but it was. And it was quite frank, not ruining my life, but it was affecting it greatly. And my healing journey felt quite stagnant a lot.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, like the MAP healing process that Katie was talking about, it stands for the mind alignment process. And that is a 12-week program that heals trauma completely. So I've been through it. It's phenomenal. But that can be the root of a lot of addictions is people start reaching for the outside because they're trying to make themselves feel better on the inside because there's a trauma that didn't get healed. So I'm glad that you went through that. Did you have anything else to share, Katie?
Yeah, and math really did help. I don't really go through that pattern anymore. And if I do, I have learned coping mechanisms. And it's like, I no longer have that like urgency. And I do see like the way that it like manifests through my twin flame is quite different. Like it's coming through a substance. And so like I know that there's still healing to do there, or maybe my twin is mirroring that there's like another addiction, but like there's healing been done, but it looks like there's deeper to go.
You're great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can hear from Danny next.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's a very interesting topic, you know, like it's definitely also something that I've been healing. I smoke cigarettes, and so it's been like a thing for me, you know, and definitely less than what I used to smoke before. And it's kind of like now it's just like a habit, you know, like I'm so used to it, and it's this like I really find like, you know, this part of me who is so used to it, and of course there is nothing good that you can get out of it, but it's not easy, you know. And so I also want to share my journey, you know, like how, like why I, you know, let's say I used to smoke more, like what's the thing with this addiction, but like just to give like a little glimpse of it right now, I will say that, you know, it's really powerful when you feel your feelings, because everything that like kind of like takes you away from that, it's gonna be in a way, like, you know, that's when you can get an addiction, right? Like if you don't feel your feelings, and then like in my case, right, like I have the cigarette, like it's my easy way out. Okay, I'm stressed out, I want to have a cigarette. Oh, I'm so happy, I'm celebrating something, I'm gonna have a cigarette. So it really comes down to like being able to ground the feelings, and to be, you know, to be okay with it. And also it's not easy, you know. And so that's what I wanted to say, like if you are moving through something right now, let's say you're also trying to quit cigarettes, like something that it has been helping me, even though like I was just saying before to the girls, that like, you know, I have 2 cigarettes a day, sometimes 3. So to me, I was like, okay, 2 cigarettes is nothing, you know, like today I haven't even had 1 cigarette, you know, and I'm completely fine. It's just that habit. Anyway, so what has been helping me to fully kind of like get to the core of it is to recognize like, okay, it's not easy, because it's very easy to be hard on yourself, to you know, to guilt trip yourself, to judge yourself, and all of these things. And something that I've realized throughout all of these years is that the only way, you know, the only way for me to finally like stop doing something that doesn't help me is to like fully accept it, you know. And is it when I don't accept it that it just stay in my life forever, you know. But as soon as I accept it, like fully accept it, and I go through the process, then that's when I can release it, you know. And so that's what I've been like really like telling myself lately, like, you know, it's not easy, you know, it's really not. And so, okay, you know, like I don't want to feed that thought either, like, oh, it's not easy, now I have an excuse, you know, like to keep smoking, right? Like that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like to recognize that it's not easy, so you can accept that, and then you can move forward with it. So that's basically where I'm at right now. But yeah, definitely I would like to share a little bit more of the journey of it. But let's see what you also, you guys have to share, so we can keep kind of like aligning with the healing.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Danny. I wanted to take us deeper and just kind of just share a little bit about my own journey as well. So initially, I was pointing with a finger out. I didn't know the mirror exercise. And I'm like, oh, they're doing this thing. And I didn't have clarity about what was going on in my union. But I did experience some, you know, I always had a suspicion. And then later on, I learned that there was a substance abuse that my twin was participating in. And for me, when I started practicing the mirror exercise and really understanding the twin flame dynamic, like I watched all of Jeff and Julia's Twin Flame Ascension School. I've watched every class. And through that experience, I realized that my twin flame is mirroring me, but I couldn't quite put a finger on what it was until I went deeper there. So like I shared in the beginning of this video, what Jeff and Julia share in the sermon on addiction that we linked under this video, is that it's really reaching outside of you for something else, like placing something outside of you as a source of love. And really, truly, all of us are really addicted to ego. Like that's separation consciousness at the core. But it's more pronounced when it's a substance or a repeated pattern, like what Katie was talking about, when it's like this thing that happens over and over again. And you realize like, oh my gosh, like I have this big pattern. So as I went deeper, I realized that what I was addicted to was people. And I want to share a quote from Shalia. She says, the number one addiction pattern for people, is actually relationships. They're addicted to relationships or to being in a relationship, and that makes you so unhappy. Someone is giving you something that you think you need that's outside of you, and you give up a lot to have that. Everyone with an addiction knows you're giving up something to have that. So for example, like attention, I think for me, it was like I would feel like a long time ago when Josh and I were first in a relationship, and I would get a text message from him. It would give me like this jolt of dopamine, or like, oh yay, I've been waiting so long, and ding, oh, I feel relieved, and that's just exactly the same thing that drug addicts experience when they use drugs, right? I also noticed that I had an addiction to sugar and in foods where I would just eat long after I was full. And there was something, it was like trying to fill a void there. But I want you to know that there is hope and healing, and I want to share that healing with you. And so here's another quote from Jeff and Shalia from that sermon. The way that you heal addiction is by recognizing that the thing that you are addicted to brings you is not what you need at all. You're not dependent on what the addiction gives you. It doesn't have power over you. You have power. You have the power to give yourself what you actually need rather than what you think you need, right? So for me, the attention, or I guess it was attention or connection, through practicing the mirror exercise, watching Twin Flame Ascension School, and working with my coach, I was able to start to give that to myself. And just like what Danny was saying, it's challenging. So be compassionate with yourself wherever you are on that journey. Another thing Jeff and Shalia talk about in the sermon is, if you want to stop smoking cigarettes, for example, like, don't try to cold turkey it. Like, they have two alternatives. You can start to taper down with vaping, or trying an herbal supplement. And there's some like herbal mixtures, like I don't like milk thistle. No, it's something else, mugwort or something, and kind of help you to transition away from it. But I will share, maybe people don't know this. I actually used to smoke cigarettes a lot, and I didn't try to stop smoking cigarettes. I just naturally stopped as I started doing this work. Like, I just, realized, oh my gosh, it's been a month and I haven't bought a pack. Now, I wasn't like a pack a day person initially. It was like maybe like one a day or one every other day, but it was certainly like remarkable. So that's really important to know, that like the way through addiction isn't done through harshness or cold. Lots of times cold turkey does not work, because you're not addressing the root of the problem, and you're not resolving it through love. You're resolving it through harshness. So that's why, we have solutions. There are many solutions out there. And what I've tried that works is this, the mind alignment process. I healed my own trauma that was causing me to reach outside of myself. And then my twin flame reflected my healing. So I have a lot to share about that part, but we'll come back to that. And I wanted to just invite the other ladies here to share their stories on a deeper level, with their healing.
I do have
Thank you.
to share.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We have a lot to share. Go ahead, Katie.
Just about cigarettes. I had my own experience with that, and it was always tied with like, I would be like, oh, I want a drink or a smoke, and like they would be tied together. And it was purely because I was stressed out. So like, it was very obvious I was doing it to numb out. And as I did do the work more and more, because like I wasn't wanting to numb out, like I agree with you, Lacey, that like it kind of just like dissipated on its own. But then I would go to like a party or like a special event, and a lot of people are smoking, because like this is something that a lot of people in the population do just on like a weekend basis. And I would make myself feel guilty, because like my body, or like I definitely had like an addiction. So like my body was definitely like giving me those like signs and symptoms, like, oh, I want that, and like I'm craving that. And so I really just started to like give myself compassion. And like, if I did end up having a cigarette at a party, I was just like, okay, whatever, like I'll just make a new choice next time. And loving myself instead of beating myself up, that was the key. And like, it's like I just like gradually like started releasing it. And I haven't had a cigarette, and my twin flame smokes, but I haven't had a cigarette probably 5 months. And it just kind of just happened. And it goes by loving yourself and like not, because like I feel like when you tell yourself not to think of a white elephant, you almost want it more. So yeah, that's my experience with smoking cigarettes.
We have a question from a member of the audience. And someone asked, is it okay to smoke cannabis as long as I don't use it to numb out? I just want to answer that with the quote from the beginning. It's not the thing that you're addicted to that's the problem. It's your relationship with what you're addicted to that's the problem. So if you explore your relationship with something, you may or may not have an addiction. I mean, people go to restaurants and have like a nice glass of wine paired with their meals all the time. That's not an addiction. It's your relationship with the thing. Same thing of what Katie was talking about too. I think Mina wanted to share.
I love that. Yeah, I love that because, and I'm resonating with everything that you all are saying, because for me, I used to make use of medical marijuana, like cannabis, for a while. And it was very helpful for a while, to be honest, because I was dealing with anxiety, some other things. But as I went deeper into this work, the teachings of union, and I also went through a round of MAP, it wasn't that necessarily dedicated to that, but it was completely related because I had some trauma around like not being able to feel my feelings. And I feel like one of the biggest things that helped me heal the addiction was to really become more conscious about the why, the purpose. Because again, for a while, medical cannabis was helping me, but then I was like, wait, why am I still doing this? Like I started noticing as Danny was saying that I was happy, I would smoke. I was sad, I would smoke. I was feeling weird, I would smoke. So I was like, wait, this is like, it's just, I kind of like was able to notice that there was some sort of like misalignment there, because also after a while I was feeling like, okay, I'm sad, I smoke, and then I don't feel better after. It's like, why is it not working anymore? So that's when I was like, okay, I'm actually looking for joy, for God, for union, for love in this, I guess, in this dynamic. So I decided that I really was ready for a change. So I remember I actually watched a class where Jeff and Shalia talk about how when people are going through an addiction, they either completely numb out and continue to doing the thing, or they try to ignore it, or they kind of like, in a way, they try to delete the addiction. But Jeff and Shalia talk about how if you are feeling that addiction, if you're feeling that need, it's a desire, really deep, intimate desire to receive love, to feel good. And instead of like just getting distracted, it's really important to look at that part using the mirror exercise, which, by the way, if you don't have the book, buy the book. Everybody must have the book. Chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken, this goes very deep on the mirror exercise. So what I did, I decided one day to really get in contact with that part of me who was craving, because there was a craving. I was craving love, attention, all of that very deeply. So I remember that I had decided to stop smoking. One night I felt the call to smoke, and I was like, no, wait, I paused myself there. 5 seconds later, I was like, okay, I'm going to get a beer then. And I'm like, no. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get some pizza then to just comfort myself. And then I was like, okay, this is the night. I really realized that there was a craving deep down, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a shower. I remember I took a shower, romance myself, put like a cozy clothes, sat on the couch, nice music and all that. And I sat with myself, and I kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, giving myself love. And with that one mirror exercise that lasted, I think, 2 or 3 hours, because I went very deep with that, I never had the desire to smoke after, in terms of like the addiction. So I was like, oh, wow, like this is very, very, the work works. I could really see that craving was basically desiring love. And I really want to say this is like the most natural desire that we all have. We all want to feel loved. We all want to receive attention, and there's nothing bad about that. It's just very important for us to get very aware and conscious of it, and then be intentional about how you actually want to fulfill, you know, those desires. Again, loving yourself, pointing it back to God. You know, the joy doesn't come from the cannabis, doesn't come from the buying, doesn't come from anything else. It comes from God, it comes from love. So for me, that was a huge life-changing experience. And it also brought all my inner work and my, I guess, inner work skills, superpowers to a different level, because I was like, okay, if I'm able to use the mirror exercise and the mirror exercise only to heal an addiction that I've been carrying for at least 2 or 3 years, I mean, that basically shows that I can literally heal everything. So that was a major change for me. Nowadays, going back to, I think it was David's point, I do enjoy making use of cannabis every here and there, but I'm very precise and specific, like, why am I doing it? And it's not to fill a hole, I guess. And then the other thing that I wanted to share too is, like, it's funny enough, my Twin Flame has been reflecting to me, going back to the point that Katie did and Alicia too, about the need, the craving for attention. I've been, my Twin Flame is currently, like, very recently reflecting me, I guess, another level of that, where I see him, like, really craving to maybe get that high of meeting new people and getting that validation from him. So this week specifically, I've been going a lot deeper with that and really realizing that, you know, there's a big part of me who wants to feel reassured, who wants to feel loved, who wants to be prioritized, chosen. And I guess what I also want to say with this is that I'm learning that the upsets are not meant to torture you. They're actually, I like to think that the triggers are actually activations, almost like it's a door that was closed where love was not getting in. And then you suddenly, when you see it in your twin flame and you choose to be very conscious of it and you choose to see your union through God's perspective, then you can go there and give yourself the love. So I know that addiction can be a heavy word, and drugs and all those things can feel very heavy. But they don't have power, as Lacey said. They're again a door that must be open, or is calling to be open. And if you're very intentional and grounded, you can absolutely do that with the mirror exercise. And again, I want to highlight how helpful MAP has been for me, and also working with a coach, because some of these things are so ingrained, the patterns, the habits are so ingrained maybe in your union, that may be not so easy to see what they're reflecting to you. So talk about this with, you know, your coach and claim support, because those things go very, very, very deep, and it's natural to, not be so aware of them. So that's been my experience so far.
Yeah. And I also want to add something with, well, thank you for sharing that, Mina and Katie and Lacey. Like, I feel like this is a very sensitive topic, you know, and so the fact that we're talking about it, it's so healing, I feel like, for us and for everybody also watching. So, you know, everybody wins, everybody benefits from it, and that's the goal. So yeah, something that Lacey said was this, you know, how when the cold turkey thing, right? Like, cause like, and it's so true. Like, I've realized so many things so many times in my life where I'm like, okay, I'm on a cold turkey, stop smoking cigarettes. That's when, you know, I'm like, oh, hell no. And then I smoke even more, you know, or like I kind of like go stubborn about it, because the root of it, it's what you were saying, Mina, like, we just want love, right? Like, there is a part of us that needs a lot of love and attention. And so, of course, you say, I'm going to punish you with it, then she's, you know, that part of you, it's just going to go crazy, right? So I naturally, you know, I used to smoke 6 to 8 like cigarettes a day, you know, and then I just stopped. And then if I was like in a very stressful, let's say, time, I would smoke even more. So I realized like that I just naturally started to smoke less because I was doing the mirror exercise and because I was loving myself. And like, I was starting to like kind of like be more conscious, more aware of myself, you know, because I mean, yeah, like a lot of people smoke cigarettes, you know, and when you that becomes a habit, you can just have a life, and even if you're happy, you're good and peaceful and nothing wrong, you can still smoke, and you know. But when you become more aware of everything in life, when you are more sensitive to everything, you realize that there are things that are like just not helpful, and then you start making changes. But again, you know, it's not that you don't have to make the change on the outside, meaning you don't have to quit cold turkey, but you have to love yourself so deeply, like how beautiful, how Mina said, like, oh, like I loved myself so much, like for hours, and then I didn't need the cigarette, like in addiction wise, you know. And so that's really powerful. So yeah, you know, like it's a choice as well, and it's possible with I feel like we require a lot of support, especially also because it becomes a habit. Like it's just normal, like it's natural and normal for you to do, but it's not, because you don't have to identify with that, you know, that part of you that is doing something that at the end of the day doesn't really benefit you, you know. And so something that, and also I feel like it's important to be aware of like what stories are you telling yourself, you know, because I remember also telling myself like, oh well, like, you know, 2 cigarettes a day, like this is not gonna do anything, like it's nothing, you know. And it's true, but like I don't want to say that to myself to like, you know, keep doing something that like I know that I don't want to do, you know. I don't want to be dependent on something, you know. And so yeah, like I've always thought that like I do enjoy, you know, like I do accept that like I do enjoy the process, like I do enjoy having a cigarette. And sometimes I feel like it's kind of like gives me that like cleanse like feeling, you know. But again, I feel like when we love ourselves, we don't need any of that. It's like a lot of like also, you know, like medicine, right? Like cannabis or any other type of like medicine with like a drug or with like a plant or with anything, you know. It's not that they don't help, you know, of course they can help, but like what the point is that you can have that you don't need anything on the outside, that you can give it to yourself, and that makes you so powerful, you know. But you shouldn't also feel guilty or bad for needing that support. It's like, for example, if you are depressed and you need to take pills for depression, like you gotta support yourself, you gotta take those drugs to help your brain be, you know, stable again, and then you can keep going. But it's just meant to be a support, not to be something that you get addicted to. So that I feel like that goes back to what Lizzie was saying, like it really matters what is the relationship you're having with it, you know. And like be aware of that, and that will give you also a lot of relief. So yeah, like I'm saying, as I started to like really dive deep with myself and feel better and happier and like more peaceful and all of those things, I naturally stopped smoking. And I did also what Lizzie said, you know, like I no longer have like the regular commercial cigarette. I do herbs. Like no, it's not herbs, it's organic cigarette, you know. And so I did that transition. And it's funny because so I haven't had a cigarette like the commercial one since the pandemic. You know, when the pandemic started, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm no longer touching these cigarettes, and I'm gonna buy organic, and I'm gonna roll my cigarette and like herbal as well, and I'm gonna kind of like help myself in the transition. And it's funny because back then, like I would have never thought like, okay, I like, oh, I'm never gonna smoke these cigarettes again. You know, but when you do it, you realize that you can. It's been years now since I didn't have that, since I don't have like a commercial cigarette. If I can get like an organic one, let's say I don't have more, even if I have a store next to me, I don't get it. I don't buy it. And I don't need it, you know, like the other one. And so it is a transition, you know, like how I went from having that to where I am right now, and then from not having, you know. And so it's a process, and it's important to support like ourselves in the process. And so what I'm doing right now is like I'm helping myself, so I have one instead of two, you know. And then from one I can go, okay, one day yes, one day not. And then like, you know, I'll help myself to finally quit. Or even if it's like, you know, in an event where I feel like I need the cleanse, but I don't really need it, you know, whatever, I'm still healing through it. So it's not, I cannot be like so wise about it, you know. But anyway, my the point here is that this affects your union with your twin flame, because you know, if you are really dependent on something, you are not feeling your feelings. And when you are not feeling your feelings, it's not easy for you to be in alignment with your union at all. It can actually be chaotic. It can be, you know, sad, because you're not feeling your feelings, because your feelings are always going to tell you where you need love, where you need support. And if you are avoiding that, then you are not going to give yourself that love and that support. And if you're not giving yourself that love and that support, then guess what's going to happen with your twin flame, who is your mirror, right? They are going to reflect that to you by not loving you and by not supporting you. And then you're frustrated, and then the cycle repeats again. And so that's why healing this is important, so you don't have to experience separation with your twin flame, right? By choosing to be with your feelings. But again, what I feel like something that all of us have said today is have so much compassion for yourself in the process, because that compassion is going to be the key that is going to help you get out of this, you know. Because if you don't have compassion, you're going to judge yourself, and then, like, I've done it, like I judge myself, fuck it, I'm just going to have the cigarette, because I was judging myself, because, like, you know what, fuck it, you know. And so that's not the point, you know. Like, it's to really be loving and really compassionate, and to find more peace, and like, you know, because when you find more peace, you don't have these things like I just said right now, like, okay, fuck it, I'm doing it, like that impulse, right? Like you gotta be able to support yourself in those moments where, before you have the impulse, before you have the reaction, before you react, so you can be grounded. So for me, it really is about grounding, like grounding the healing, and like feeling worthy of it, and receive it, you know, and just keep going, and keep, you know, creating the life that you want, and just be happy. There is so many things, like so much that life has to offer. And so don't get caught up on that, you know, like support yourself on changing this that doesn't help you, but with love. And remember, as you change this, and as you claim your life, you know, being healthy and being happy, and work and all of those things, naturally you're attracting your twin flame, and naturally your union can blossom if you are already in union, you know, and you can just be happy, you know, and then, yeah, heal and go. But yeah, I mean, there are, of course, like certain like levels, right, like of addictions and things like that. So I would just kind of like make emphasis on what Lizzie was saying, to watch the sermon from Jeff and Shalia. This is kind of like the first thing you want to do when you recognize that, you know, you have an addiction. And so, okay, recognize it, and I'm going to take the first step. And so just know that the first step, it's not that you have to say no to it right now, because thinking that, it's going to make you not take the first step. So you're going to still do whatever you're doing, but you're going to start doing something different within you, so you can change the relationship you're having with a substance. And if you need a little bit more of motivation, know that this is going to help you immensely with your twin flame journey, with your union, and that, again, you are worthy of, you know, enjoying your union with your twin flame. And, you know, and also you are worthy of knowing that you can have all of that love from within, that you are capable of like loving yourself and getting all of that deep love from, you know, within you. Like the source, God, love is within us. And that's something very powerful, very true too. So, you know, be okay with that, and that will help you a lot as well. So yeah, that's my share.
Thank you, Danny. We are almost out of time. Mina, are there any comments coming up? Any questions?
I wanted no comments here, but I just felt called to highlight how beautiful it is to see Danny like celebrating her wins on the path. because I feel like that's
Amen.
very important. And yeah. And the other thing that it's really stuck with me from today's live is that it's when we have addictions, we do those things. It's very easy to notice when we're trying to escape. So you're trying to get out of this moment, this feeling, this situation, whatever. So notice, a big tip is notice. Are you trying to escape the present moment, the here and now, what you're feeling when you're doing something, or you're actually grounded that, connecting to that? I feel like learning to be your best friend in those moments and ask those questions like, okay, like, am I trying to escape, or do I need love? What is it that I need right here, right now? And then proceed to give that to yourself. I feel like that's going to be very helpful. But it was beautiful to see everybody is sharing their stories. We all go through all of this. It's important to talk about it, and it's important to claim support. So there's actually a comment here from Manu. She says that she's healed a pretty severe weed addiction with this work and has not smoked weed in 8 to 9 months. So congrats.
Congratulations.
See more success stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, share your successes on the chats, please.
Good. And I did want to just bring up one comment is that we are having, if you come to the Church of Union this Sunday, there's a sermon on addiction if you want to go deeper. I'm giving the sermon. There's a lot of really juicy topics inside. If you visit unionism.org, you can link up into the channel or search up Church of Union on YouTube. One other thing I wanted to add is, and we didn't get time to talk about this, but if your loved one, whether it's your twin flame, your family member, friend, has an addiction that you see, you cannot control it. There's in some programs that I was part of, I heard of the 3 C's. Letter C, you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. So the best thing to do in that situation, you can communicate a concern, but truly it's about focusing on yourself and loving yourself. And when I did that, that provided a safe space for my twin flame to heal. You can't control or cure someone else's addiction, right? You focus on you. And I think that's the biggest message here. So thank you so much. Yes, the Church of Union
I have a question
is free.
for you.
Yes.
Lisi, I have a question for you. Did you ever try to control it?
Oh, yes, it did not work. It backfired.
What ended up happening? Just like a lot of resistance?
It backfired. Yeah.
Okay.
It was mirrored back to me. So yes, you don't try to control someone else's addiction or try to fix it or try to manipulate the situation in any way. It's a whole other topic for a whole other thing. I think we have another question. Is that Mina?
Yeah, so
comments?
David was asking about what is, maybe you can do a summary here of what is the Church of Union, Lisi, and if it's free. I just pasted the link for our YouTube channel. Everybody's welcome to our Sunday services. We have one every Sunday.
Yep.
And,
and the Church of Union is a non-denominational, all are welcome from every single background of every religion, or if you're agnostic or atheist, you're welcome. It's a church that celebrates union, that honors twin flames and twin flame union. And we have topics that pertain to humanity and twin flame union each Sunday, presented by different members of the community. So come on, come all. It's a great opportunity to connect as well with individuals who desire to be with their twin flame, just like you. All right. Yeah. Amen. Well, that said, we'll conclude. Thank you so much for being part of our group. And please comment, like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and we will see you in the next live. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.